Can you imagine I'm only 12 years away from turning 70, the biblical years?
I can't imagine,
that
actually.
That means that I have very active 12 years remaining in my life. Let's see if I'm fortunate, which I believe I will be.
Well, happy birthday. You don't look a day over 40.
You see?
Yeah, because you see, I have 3 takeaways up to where I am now.
Yeah.
One is that, as human beings, our singular obligation is just to be decent human beings. You see, a lot of people think that it's macho, that it's so tough for you to be a bad guy, just be a decent human being every day when you wake up. Secondly, just always philosophize, understand the dignity of human beings and how to relate with your fellow human beings and how to deal with life. Philosophy actually helps. Stoicism, actually, it really helps. We carry a lot of burden in life that is totally unnecessary. Yet, we are minuscule in life because, I don't know that that the world has been in existence for over 4 billion years.
Yeah.
Yet, for you, we live for approximately 7 decades. So we are nothing actually in the world. The matter in life, the atoms, it's trillions. We are just minuscule. We are very small. So we go about in life thinking we are very important. We are not. We are not. We are very. We are nothing compared to what in the world. And that create a community. Create a community of people who are kind of like a protection to you. For me, I go to Christ Church in ACK, and we've created a community of friends. So you find that support system, of course, together with your family, helps a lot, a great deal. It makes life very easy. But just live. Just do life. Don't keep postponing, thinking that, people say that I'll start living when I make so much money.
Nah.
What if you don't live to see that money? Absolutely. So live every single day like it's your last day.
Indeed.
Yeah. That's my takeaway.
My goodness.
At 58.
Well, I mean, Gloria, happy birthday to you. And, it's great that those are things that you can have as gifts to other people on your birthday. Yeah. And so we'll get into some of those conversations. We'll probably elicit that advice from those conversations. But before we do that, Dennis has taken us to a different country this week.
Yeah. We are in Burundi. And Kirundi is the national language. But one thing about Burundi's culture is that it's deeply rooted in 3 things: community, respect for elders, and unity. Another thing that stands out in Burundi is the way they have those big drums on their head and how they play. It's actually considered a UNESCO World Heritage. If you just want to enjoy that, go to Burundi and enjoy it. But the proverb we get from them: a bird that doesn't fly will never know where the harvest is ripe. How would you interpret it?
If it's about exploring life. And because if you are static, you don't go out there and seek for knowledge. You don't go out to seek for information. You don't go there to realize your full potential. You'll never know, because a lot of us, we are very content with little. We are content with just being in our horizon. It doesn't help, because life is not for you just to sit back. You got to make impact in life. You got to add value to your fellow human beings. And to do that, you got to be out there. Be with people, do good, and know that at the end of the day, you can't live alone. You have to coexist with people, and you have to relate with people.
Yes.
And I think that is something that, as a country, to just bring it back home, we got to realize, because one thing that really concerns me is this thing of tribalism.
Yeah.
Because we got to understand that nobody is a guest in this country. And we have rights and obligations to each other. We are actually family. We belong to Kenya, all of us. And we can learn to coexist, to respect each other, and to always remember that we are there for the greater good of the country. Because when things go bad, we are affected. And when they go right, we all benefit.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, as you fly like that bird, remember that you have to patch somewhere. Patch in the community of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said.
Kabisa.
Well broken down.
Well said. And when we look at governance and the rule of law as comes into play, it seems as though, when it comes to the rule of law, Kenya in very many instances has been flirting with the idea of abiding by the rule of law, as opposed to landing this thing and take it to home base, whereby you say, in situations whereby it might work for me, let me apply the rule of law. By and large, it seems as though it's something in the corner that you kind of, it's like that one spice you don't really want to use because it's maybe too pungent in your soup. But do we have a choice?
Actually, you captured it very well, because I have been fortunate to be both in private sector and public sector. Before I was JSC, I was the chair of IPOA. And one thing I've noticed in the 11 years that I was in the two institutions, and I related, of course, with a lot of public officials, both senior and junior or even mid-scale, is that, it's like this. We always think that we're in a position of power that is permanent. And we forget that it's just a short spell of time. It's a revolving door, actually, because as you get in, you should actually prepare to get out, and others will be getting in. So people forget, and you start now not realizing that it's in your interest, actually, to use that power properly in a way that is for the good of the public, so that that institution can serve even when you are outside. In fact, I can tell you that at one time when I was in IPOA, I recall a very senior police officer who I would always say that let's make sure that you have a decent police service, so that the moment we are all out, it can serve you. And the guy would, ignore it. And the moment he was out, he was one of the immediate complainants in IPOA. Again, the same police officers. Now, and we keep forgetting time and again. That's why you find that a lot of people, when they get to these public positions, the first thing they want is the bodyguards, they want the big cars, they want to show you that, they've arrived. And they start throwing, through the window, whatever the requirements or the obligations that come to that office. Now, you see, you may think that when you're in these offices, that you are beholden to the powers that be, forgetting that even those powers, they are just human beings like you. It's not that they may hold, I always say that even a president, there's no difference between the president and you. It's only that person is holding that office in trust for the people for that moment. But they are human beings, because there have been other presidents before. There'll be others who will come. After. So being a president is not the end in itself. They are human beings, So you got to be alive to the fact that you need to serve the office, knowing that you have an obligation to the people of Kenya and even to yourself, to do the right thing. And the level of impunity that you see sometimes is shocking. It's not restricted, say, like to now the issues you are going to discuss here about JSC. It's many institutions. And you see, if you look at the history of our country, there's a reason why these independent offices and commissions were created by our constitution, because of our history. A history of repression, where there was impunity, laws were not being obeyed. But now you get shocked when you find that, instead of us going forward, it's like we are regressing because of the quality of the people who are there, the quality of the political leadership, and the people who simply don't care. And then there's no action being taken. Because if people are not held to account, that breeds impunity, and therein lies the problem.
Okay, Lee, then you look at where we are today and what we've talked about, just respecting the people and living with the people, because we're not guests here. We're here rightfully so. But then again, there are institutions that have been given the power to help steer that conversation moving forward. So you look at the independent institutions and their rule book on how they're supposed to operate. You look at how the police service needs to operate, the GSC, how they need to operate, and the rule book. But you find that people are operating outside that rule book. It's as if they have their own modus operandi, are removed from that which they ought to follow. One asks the question, is it a question of I don't know, or I just don't care and there's nothing you would do? And how then do we fix that?
It is not they do not know. You see, the problem is that when people are not held to account, we got to take very seriously the issue of accountability. I'll give you an example. We have the Conflict of Interest Act, number 11, I think, of 2025. that is very clear. It states, in fact, that the issue of political neutrality in respect to any public officer, you got to be politically neutral. And it's couched in mandatory terms, and there's no ambiguity in it. In fact, it goes ahead to state that if you commit an offense that where you've breached that express provision of political neutrality, it's an offense. You'll either be fined up to 4 million shillings or go to jail for up to 10 years. It's couched in express terms. Then you find a commissioner going to State House, donning party colors, and it's like you do not care. Utadu,
yes.
You don't need more evidence than that. You've already breached that provision.
Yeah.
Then you find the same commission. I saw some letter where they were responding to COFEC saying that this is a matter that is in court, we can't do anything. What are you telling Kenyans? Because this couched, why do you have to wait for action to be taken by somebody else when amongst yourself you can take action?
And wouldn't it be obvious that in that situation, there's something that is amiss? How do you continue to then sit as a commission whereby you have an obvious flouting of the very tenets upon which it has been formed for something to happen? Because we can say it. You have a vice chair, which is the position you sat in, Macharia, of the commission, donning party colors. So there is partisanship that can be seen in the optics here. And so then we would have to ask the question, does this now mean that the vice chair of the JSC would sit and do the bidding for the executive, who is the chairman of the party?
And you see, the thing is this. You are recruiting judges. You're oversighting an institution of the judiciary, which is supposed to be independent. Now, what message are you even sending to the judges and the other judicial officers? That you can also do bidding for a party? What exactly? And you see, this is a very sensitive institution. So, to me, there's something totally amiss. Now, there's a commission. Remember, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is supposed to also take action.
Yes.
I don't know whether they'll take action. In fact, a person like that should even be declared unfit even to hold any public office. Because you see, at the end of the day, we don't do these things because you have something against the person. It's about the country. The country is bigger than all of us. There's nobody who should behave like they're bigger than the country. Now, look also even at the police. Where you go, you are seeing, infringement on people's rights. Like, for instance, like meetings. A police officer behaving like you're a youth winger for a party. Instead of, understanding that you are supposed to be an independent national police service, protect everybody's rights. And you see, one thing is that, and that's the biggest problem in our country, is where we think that we are doing ourselves a favor by holding fort for politicians. And I can tell you, you have more experience than myself because you deal, when you're in the media, you deal with more things. You deal with 1,000 things in a day more than us who are outside. Politicians are the least reliable people. When you do bidding for a they'll use you, then they'll dump you, They are very quick to do that. In fact, like I look at, say, the other day, I had gone to Kiambu, and I remember bumping into a police officer, and the police officer was telling me that there are these guys who allegedly were used in killing some guys in 2022 during that elections time. Those guys are still rotting in custody. I don't know whether it's true that it is claimed that they were bidding for some a political grouping. I do not know. Now you can see they've been abandoned. Now, as a police officer, when you allow yourself, whether you are high, whether you are middle level, whether you are low, and you are doing it now for politicians instead of just doing your job. I was concerned also the other day when I saw the IEBC, they are going to the office of the head of public service. The impression you are giving is that you are beholden or you are junior to that office because you are an independent office. In fact, even any meeting you hold, it should be a neutral ground. That's basic. One thing that we were very clear, for instance, when we were when I was chairing IPOA, we will never go to meet the Inspector General in his office. If you have to have a meeting, either come to office or you meet in neutral ground if you don't want to come to office, because you do not want to give an impression that you are subservient to the other office. Because see, even optics Optics also matter.
That's what I was going to say. Optics matter. If I, as a journalist today, was to go and have a coffee with any politician, and I come here the next morning, the assumption, and I was seeing, the assumption is that I am now doing bidding for that person in the words that I speak tomorrow. So we can make the connection. And that's why we have to, people saying, okay, so what does it matter if somebody who is wearing party colors is sitting as a vice chair of the GSE, for example, and then goes for a meeting at State House? Well, it was not too long after that judges of the Court of Appeal then were appointed by the president. And so we also know the kinds of cases that are currently sitting at the appellate court waiting for adjudication. We know the nature of those cases. So then you start to put two and two, because nature abhors a vacuum. And who are we but to fill the vacuum and say, okay, well, if this is the case, then this also can be the case. We run a risk then of putting the society at a bit of a threat when you say, well, then somebody is just essentially playing chess with these pieces and is able to do what they want, even if it may not be true. So are you saying that you'd rather be safe and just do what you've been asked to do in the manner in which you've been asked to do it, so that you do not create this vacuum which nature so terribly abhors?
It is sad. Because, see, at the end of the day, it boils down, my take is that it boils down to the quality of the people who are appointed, and of course the quality of the appointing authority. Because, you see, at the end of the day, an appointing authority that has confidence in itself, that does not suffer from low self-esteem, that believes in a good corporate governance, that believes in the values, that are enshrined in the Constitution, will not do some of those things. Because, see, the sad thing about our state of affairs today is that there are very many good people with integrity, with credibility, who are available to serve, but they'll not be considered. But the opposite is that the ones of poor, of low quality in terms of character, as long as there'll be people, as long as there are people who will be beholden to the powers that be, are the ones who will be considered. It's really, really, really sad, because that's not what our Constitution envisaged. But even then, once somebody is appointed, regardless of how they've been appointed, now, you see, you have independence. There's a reason why the Constitution has given you that independence. There's a reason why the law protects you. Why don't you just do your job knowing that you are doing it for your country, knowing that you only have a very short time? Because that period of and it moves very fast, by the way. The years that like when I look back when I was appointed, in IPOA, it just looks like yesterday. Yet it was 2013. 6 years moved so fast. JSC itself, 5 years, they move so fast. Before you know it, it's gone. So you got to realize that you just have this small window of opportunity to make an impact. Just make an impact. Even if it's marginal gains, just do something that you can say that I did this, and your conscience is clear. Knowing that even that appointing authority will also move out in any event. So it is this realization that seems to be escaping from us. And my brother and my sister, one thing that I also don't understand is what happens when they get to positions. It is something that actually I think it needs some serious research. I don't know how that can be done to people to because people just change. I keep telling people, my brother has said that today, if we hear some news that you've been appointed to this big office, and the way we are talking, I do not know whether in the afternoon,
he will be greeting us.
I'll be picking up.
I do not know for sure. A lot of people, until they have a bit of power and a bit of money, you really do not know what they become. You got to really be somebody who is very stable in terms of your mind, having your feet on ground. You really got to have it. Otherwise, a lot of people don't have it, unfortunately. It's the nature of many human beings.
Okay, you see, when you talk about an institution like JSC, many would look at JSC as just a group of individuals who sit there. But when you dig deeper to just understand what JSC does, and that is recruitment and appointment of judges, and it is an institution that goes further and even disciplines the judges. It is not just any other institution out there, because you have to look at what a judge does to dispense justice, to ensure that rule of law is actually upheld. But here we are playing around with individuals who sit in these places, and one then looks at it and says, today any Kenyan looking at JSC or looking at the judges would not trust that individuals who've been appointed deserve to be there. Why? Because we have individuals who have shown to be partisan. Do we ever pause to just think in terms of eroding the trust that Kenyans have to these positions, and what that then would mean to Kenyans just respecting the rule of law as well? Because it cascades down. If we do not have individuals who are responsible in appointing judges following the law, Kenyan out there would ask and say, kama wale wanavunja sheria mbona mimi nifuate?
Absolutely. You got it right. That's the danger that we face. Now, granted, there are a lot of good judges who go through the process and be there and do a good job. But you see now, because of this erosion of trust, then it means that people will not have that confidence. Now, it also means, which is true, that because of that quality, the behavior of some of those commissioners, bad judges will also pass through. It is a reality, So it becomes a mixed bag. Now, and also the impression that you're creating in the minds of judges that if commissioners are doing this, then it is better for us to play safe by also showing that kind of, bias towards the party of the day. And we all know that judiciary is such a sensitive institution.
Right.
Extremely sensitive, because it is the last line of defense for anyone. When your rights are being, when your rights are in danger, when there are property rights that you also want to protect, when it's about your freedom and liberty. So it's a very sensitive institution. That's why I'm saying it's unbelievable. For me, by the way, in JSC, because, when we were serving, one of the things that, and I indicated that in the letter that I wrote to the JSC, even when it came to shortlisting persons for position of a judge, even to be interviewed, one of the fundamentals to check whether this person is politically neutral, the history of the person. Well, if they had held a political position, how far backwards have they stopped being involved in politics? How have they conducted themselves? Because you want to make sure that there's no bias in terms of that person once they get to the office. So even before you interview them, even shortlisting them, you make sure that there's no bias in terms of political neutrality. But then how can the person who is supposed to be interviewing not apply the same rules? I mean, it can't be that you expect of it from the judges, you don't expect of it from yourself. Now, even among ourselves also as commissioners, it was very clear that you should refrain from bias. You should not even participate in any political activities. We should not go there and do any bidding for any political party. You got to make sure that, you are sticking, you are neutral, and not just saying that you must be seen also to be neutral. Optics, just like I was saying,
they matter.
To me, this was a first. And to me, what is dangerous is that it could set a very dangerous precedent. It will actually set a very dangerous precedent, that it's okay for people to do that. And now, the problem is that, you see, JSC is one of what I would call, in quotes, a super commission because of the nature of its work. It's very easy for it to cascade also to other commissions. It's very easy also for the police service to say, why are you talking about us, not being neutral, being you doing us for a political party, if the justice, those who are responsible for oversight in the justice system are also doing the same. But now, even IEBC could easily start also doing the same thing and saying, where our cases will go to, the institution that is oversight in that judiciary is also doing the same. So what is the problem?
This is the thing, and we've got into a place of okayism, whereby that it's practiced in other parts, so why should we have a problem with it? And unfortunately, it's a cancer that's eating into society, whether we like it or not. And that's why we have the headline that we do today, Trained Savages, where a 21-year-old girl was killed on the 7th of February, right? one would have said it was a stray bullet. There was no intent to kill her. But you know what? The message that comes from the police after that was not one of heavy remorse, in that our actions, albeit in a residential area, took the life of this girl. Unintended, but it happened all the same. Yeah. So that there's something that you would have said to close the gap between horror and reality. That didn't happen. What we saw was that there is a blaming of the residents who are running amok in an area where they live, for God's sake. That's just one, okay? But it's okay. There are people who are starving in this country as a result of drought. But we say, well, you know what? It's not our fault. There's a geographical area in which we find ourselves. We don't look towards, perhaps we should have done something about it before it happened. So the people who are going to boil leaves, it's going to rain. You boil leaves for a little bit longer, it's okay, right? It's okay that we have the deaths in 2025 of at least, and I'm not talking about the ones that happened in protest, we have the deaths of almost 90 people that happened at the hands of police. Extrajudicial killings. And it's kind of okay. Albert Ojwang died like an animal in a cell. We have a man, Brian Odhiambo, who was fishing in her. Arrest him and take him to court. They killed him. There's an inquest going on today. They don't know what happened to him. But it's okay. You know, we'll get over it. We'll be fine. There are boys who have been harassed in a pool club in Nandi. There are people who have been killed like dogs in Kitengela. I mean, and it's okay. Do you see what I'm saying? So we've gotten into this state of okayism. So who's going to do the bidding? Whereby, who will bell the cat when we are talking about justice, which clearly is not the shield and defender at this point? And we are saying that you want to get to a place whereby the rule of law is abiding in a society that upholds it and defends it. How?
I to also some extent, also blame us as a people. Because we always have this opportunity of having a cleaner political system. But when that time comes, we don't play our role correctly. Because for me, I would say that it starts with the political power, the people that we entrust with these responsibilities. Because like I can speak about police with authority because I've dealt with them firsthand. The politicians, and when I say politicians, starting now even with the presidency, they never want to let the police be independent at all, so that the police can do the bidding for them. For them, they want to use them in terms of harassing the political opponents. They want to use them as and when they want to use them, to make sure that, things are done for them, even when they are illegal. And you see, it's very unfortunate that what they'll do is that even when it comes to appointing and making sure that people are put in the right offices, they'll put the people even sometimes based on their tribe. It will be based on the friendship. It will be based on, it's not about meritocracy. It's not about people who can be able to go and they do the job and do it effectively for everybody. Now, you see, if you look at now, for instance, like the current leadership, before they took over power, they were complaining against the previous regime that the police were being used to harass them. Now, the moment they took over power, they started doing exactly the same thing against, the people on the other side. Forgetting that the day now they're also out, the ones who come in could start doing exactly the same thing. I'll give you an interesting story. I represented Governor Natembeya, when he was applying for bail, when he was harassed, just picked, put in cells and then, taken to court the following day, then 10 prosecutors being sent to come and oppose bail because of a very, offense that clearly, that you could see here is just politics. Of course, we succeeded and he got out. I remember telling you, my brother governor, look at what these people have done. You've seen clearly, even the police officers are telling you that what they are doing, they are just receiving instructions. They don't know what they are doing. But can we envisage a situation whereby if 2027, you and your grouping are also in power, you start now doing again the same thing against the people who are harassing you? So I was asking, when shall we put an end to this thing? Because it seems like, it's a revolving door where you harass this, then when you come into power, then you also start harassing the others. So it's like we never get to see an end to it. You've talked about hunger. Do you know, like even as you're talking about some regions of this country now facing hunger, If you look at the statistics of FAO, Food and Agricultural Organization, which is an agency of the UN, it already showed us at around, I think, 2023, 2024. We are not even talking now about 2025. As at 2024, 15.5 million Kenyans were facing severe food shortage. 15.5. So it's not that it's something new. 15.5. Now, one may say maybe that's a UN agency that is playing politics. People sometimes dismiss this organization. Our own Kenya National Bureau of Statistics was showing that 30% of Kenyans, 30.1%, I think that 1% were also facing severe food shortage, which if you look at that percentage vis-a-vis our population and what FAO was saying is actually in tandem. I checked the latest statistics. It's actually showing, even that Kenya National Bureau of Statistics is showing that the percentage has even gone higher in terms of the poverty. In fact, poverty now, Kenyans, the poverty levels have gone higher to about 40%. So it's not getting any better. FAO itself is showing it's now risen from 15.5 to 20 million Kenyans. So whatever and then you'll be told that we have given fertilizer to people. We've come in with policies that are supposed to ensure that we are becoming food secure. So we are actually regressing. We are going backwards. Now, but again, when you look at how we are using our budget, because these things, you have to look at all these numbers and they'll tell a story. Now, you are in State House. Your budget, within 3 months, you overrun your budget by 4.3 million shillings. Yet you have a budget that you're supposed, in fact, within 6 months, you've exhausted your entire budget for the entire year. Then you come back now for what you call now the supplementary budget to ask for more money. So it is very easy for you to expend a lot of money to run your State House, becoming one of the biggest, expenditure departments of the government, and yet people are going hungry.
Yes.
When you go to education, you saw what Usawa Agenda was saying. They did some...
the survey, the report.
The survey that they did. Well, they were showing that in the last 3 years, children who are in class 6, over 50% of kids who are in class 6 cannot be able to read, when it comes to numeracy and literacy of a child of class 3, they cannot be able to comprehend. So, which means that you are destroying a whole education. And when you're destroying a whole education, and you are destroying the entire country. Because the best way to equip a country is to make sure that people have a good education.
Absolutely.
They can be able to create the necessary policy. They can be able to be effective in a country. Now, so all these numbers, they tell you something that the political class are more interested in optics, playing those games, traveling and showing people that the country is working, using the bloggers, using some very high sounding phrases and catchphrases, and showing and then paying people. You go around now with Nyota Fund, which we know that again is a salon, that you should actually be dispensing to people without so much melodrama, So, but you see now, at the end of the day, for us as a people, we get carried away. We start going back to our tribes. We start discussing about some coalitions that it will be our time. It will be our turn to eat. Let's look at forgetting that we are destroying the entire ecosystem, and ultimately we'll all pay for it. When we destroy the education, when people become food insecure, when we destroy the justice system, it will come to bite.
See, Wakili, when you talk about education, when you talk about that grade 6, that they're unable to comprehend what's happening at grade 3, remember that is at a point where we have grade 10s. So you have 7 classes of individuals who have not been able to be at par as expected by the books. And you're talking about 7 million students. That's the numbers that you're talking about. And these are individuals who are supposed to come and help spur the economic revolution of the country and pretty much hold the country as they graduate into adulthood. But that aside, Wakili, I look at it from a point where everything and all the problems that do exist are things that can be fixed. Because we also live at a time when Former Minister Mishuki got into the transport sector, and he said, we must fix the problems that are there. It will be difficult, but we must fix them. Seatbelts will be there, governors will be there, you'll paint your vehicles yellow. And people fought it, but we saw sanity come back into the matatu sector. That means with a good political goodwill and support, it can be done in the country. That today when you talk about the JAC and individuals who sit there, if the political class decided to remove themselves from JAC and allow JAC to do its job, Kenyans would always trust the justice system, would always trust the judiciary because it is independent and operating as per the law. That today, as we talk about the counties and planning and revenue collection and how we're spending, remember, another example, when Evans Kidero was governor in Nairobi, he is the only governor in Nairobi who's managed to exceed revenue collection, on-source revenue collection at his time. That means even the governors who've existed after Kidero are able to do that if they want to do that by cleaning their books and ensuring that everything is done right. Then, do we have political goodwill that will sort out our problems? And if not, what is the responsibility of Mwananchi? Because you've said Mwananchi is to be blamed for making all these choices, right? They also take share of the blame. So how do we fix that? Because if you fix the political system, then everything else will play ball.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, for me, we have a good opportunity in 2027. Firstly, of making sure that we can have our voices express themselves with a lot of, power, vigor, and indicating very clearly that enough is enough. Because the blood that was shed by the Gen Zs should not count for nothing, in my view. It shouldn't count for nothing. Because really, if you look at what has since happened since 2024, it's like it didn't matter. Yeah. Because the same things they were complaining against have turned full, circle. So you look at it that the same, in fact, it is in the public domain that one of this guy, I forget his name, in parliament, who said that whatever Gen Zs were complaining against, we just split into more bills and we still achieve the same thing. The thing is this. You captured a very critical point about, say, like the issue of productivity, creating jobs for our young people and all that. Really, it's a no-brainer. What we lack are visionary leaders, because what happens with a lot of projects is that the projects that we have in our country, they're not designed for growth in the country. Yes. They're designed as avenues of corruption where people can make deals, some quick money. Because a lot of those projects don't make sense at all. Like when you ask yourself today, and I've kept asking myself this question, I've raised that question even previously with some of the people that I know, in government. I keep asking them, why is it that decades after our independence, we don't have an efficient railway network that connects all the county headquarters, that connects the major towns? Because let me tell you, my brother and sister, that there's no country in the world that ever had serious economic development without an efficient railway system.
Yes.
Because the beauty of a railway system that is efficient, you can live in Naivasha and come to work in Nairobi today morning.
True.
You'll be able to transport goods and services using the railway network efficiently and at a lower cost. In fact, the moment you're able to move people, you're able to move goods, you are actually, what you're doing is that you are spreading development all over the country. It will come on its own. You don't even need to do much. In fact, America, during those early days when they were developing, they just put railway tracks to nowhere and towns just started developing. So you'll be able to do it so easily. In fact, like I keep saying, we are fighting here in Nairobi all the time, having all these high-rise apartments. Yeah. There are so many cases in court because people are trying, you find that the developers are coming and squeezing themselves in some plots where the infrastructure. If you put railway network, you don't even need those high-rise buildings. You don't need them. People will disperse. They'll go to Kajiado. Some will go to Ngong. They'll go to Muranga. They'll go wherever. They'll go to Machakos. They'll build there. And people will have quality of life. Because even as you're talking about development, it should be development that is in tandem with quality of life. Yes. It's not just development for the sake of development. And this is easy. It should not be difficult at all for us, to be able to do that. But why is it that we lack these visionary leaders? I heard the president the other day talking about putting up another expressway to Thika. What sense does it make for you to put up another expressway? You're investing billions. Why not talk about a solution that is effective, that is long term? Because even this expressway which I've used now to come here, I've paid 400 shillings. How many people will pay 400 shillings?
Not many.
To drive from Westlands to come here. So you are creating a solution for the elite. Basically what you're doing is for the elite. When you could have that same, if it was me being asked then at that time, I would have said that the 80 billion shilling that was spent then to put that expressway would have been better utilized, putting railway network within Nairobi so that you can carry people, you create a mass rapid transport
and actually
system.
have a public transport system.
Transport system that helps everyone. And you'll still be able to realize the same objective of removing congestion, but you'll be helping more people. So what we have in our country today is projects that are geared towards the elites, but to also make money. There's no vision.
Right.
Now, when you come to the young people, for instance, we know we have a burgeoning population,
Yes.
A very huge population, and we are creating a problem for ourselves because we are not thinking about these young people. We are thinking about tokenism, about this Nyota Fund, and all that, without thinking about the long-term solution. Yet, anybody will tell you that a country that has a young, large population, that should actually be an advantage. Because you have ready population that all you need to do is just to make that population productive. If you make them, like China, how did China grow? They didn't look at their population and say that the population is a disadvantage.
No, you put them to work.
You just put them to work. You just need to come up with things that will be able to make you to put them to work. But you can't put them to work if you are spending your money on recurrent expenditure, state house largesse, buying vehicles, and making these big officers feel good, instead of channeling those funds into areas that can be productive, where you can actually make the economy productive so that people can put them to work.
Macharia, the largest employer in the country is government. And I'm met with chagrin because there are people who work in different line departments of government who know these things that you've talked about. They know. They are paid to do the very same thing that you're talking about. So my question is, what happens to the skill and the expertise that they bring to the table in terms of the implementation of some of these things that we speak about? Because we can talk about these things in isolation, but they are connected. And when we look at the three arms of government, when we talk about development, all of these things are connected one to the other, that one cannot work void of the other. And that it is very possible to see that if in one area you're failing that's meant to be connected to the rest, then the whole thing essentially is failing. And that's what we are seeing today. So what happens to those people, the people who know that a public transport system in any developing country is necessary for you to see your growth on the development index? What happens to those people who understand that fiscal responsibility is tantamount to development excellence? They know. Right now, they're crunching the numbers. The budget process is ongoing for 2026, 2027. They know. So what happens with all the number crunching they do? What does it translate to? And if it is not translating, then we are wasting a lot of time, we're wasting a lot of resources, and it's not taking us to the next place. We had, I'm sorry to go, be a dog with a bone, but we had a PS of a critical ministry sit here and tell us about a plan that they had, which was supposed to start coming to fruition in 2026. Or before you can say, Jack's your uncle, the man's been switched off and put in somewhere else. So, how do you track development if you're not serious about the implementation of it in the first place? It's the same principle as why you have not abiding to the rule of law. How do you do that?
For me, it's the lack of political will. In fact, I'll be very specific instead of being general. The buck stops with the president. If you have the right president, a vision carrier, a visionary. In fact, you see, in any organization, in a corporate setup, and a country should not be any different from a corporate setup, it boils down to the vision carrier, and that vision carrier is the person who is at the seat of power. Now, unfortunately, if you have somebody who has a mind that is all over the map, or somebody who not think about the greater good of the public, somebody who is not because you see, my experience, both in public and private sector, is that yes, it is very good to be advised. But even as you're being advised, you must be very clear about what is it that you want to achieve. You must be clear about the roadmap. You must be clear about your vision. And even when you're talking about the vision, it should not be a vision that is just couched in generalities. So you must be very specific in terms of timelines, in terms of how you see, you realizing that vision. You must be passionate about it. You must be very clear. And it cannot be one that is pegged on personal interest. Because you see, the problem with public sector generally, and sometimes it will also happen, of course, even in the private sector, is that when you are carrying out an agenda, but it's more of self-interest as opposed to the greater good, then there will be a problem. Now, the tone has to be set from the top.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying, it is not about what the president will say, it's about what he's doing. And I gave an example. If you are telling people that do not be wasteful, live within your budget, and then you yourself, you're the first one to breach that, undertaking, then nobody will take you seriously. Yeah. So everybody starts doing the same thing. It's the same thing that we were saying, that if you are a JSC commissioner, you're not politically neutral, then you cannot be there now to tell the judges and everybody else that be politically neutral.
Yeah.
People don't listen to what you are saying. They observe what you are doing. Your words must be matched by actions. So to me, that is the problem. That these officials in public sector, they may have those blueprints, they may want to give their advice, but it will not be taken seriously by anybody. It's not for lack of expert. By the way, I'm one person who holds the position, like these so-called advisors, there's so many of them.
Yeah.
We don't need them. There's plenty of very serious, well-educated and competent public officials who are there in the different ministries. They are economists, they are experts, they can be able to deliver. But you see now, you have these guys who just come to those offices for other reasons. But the president does not need to be advised. In fact, there's no minister who needs to be advised from outside.
Yeah.
There are competent people in those ministries who are already being paid to do that job, and they'll do a good job. But you see, they'll not be listened to because you're advising somebody who has already who already holds an opinion, and that opinion is not necessarily for the good of the country. Therein lies the problem. So people have to get it right. And in my view, we'll keep talking, we'll keep saying all these things. We have an opportunity in 2027. If we start now getting back to the same things where we start getting it wrong, in terms not just of the president, but also even our governors, our MPs, our senators, our MCAs, then soon after we start coming to Spice FM, we are complaining again. When we had an opportunity of righting the wrongs that we've been bedeviled before.
2027 seems like an opportunity to do a lot of things, to right wrongs and to then bring a place where there's been, serious lamentation over things that may not be going right. And it seems to be that message that's running clear today. Well, you have an opportunity in 2027 to change the things that you cry about today. Turn the frown upside down, essentially. And Macharia, thank you for coming this morning and being able to shed light on some of these things. Keeps the conversation going. It's like that fire that you must keep adding tinder to keep it going and don't let it go out. So thank you for joining us in the Situation Room this morning. We're looking forward to another time to then keep our radar up. Asante sana.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I'll do my part.
Asante.
Yeah, I'll keep the fire burning.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Macharia Njeru is a former vice chair of the JSC, as well as chair of IPOA and an advocate of the High Court. He's been our guest this morning. Good morning. Conversations continue. It's 9 a.m.